are going to be making the British dessert recipe called Crunch. And we're being joined today by a very special guest, Her Majesty the Queen. As you can see, she's right there next to the oven. Hello, Your Majesty. Alright, so now I'm going to go over the ingredients. As you can see by some of the ingredients here we already have out. We have our Quaker oats. These are the old-fashioned oats, rolled oats, not the quick oats. We have butter. We have, of course, the secret ingredient, Lyle's Golden Syrup. We have sugar, more on that later. And we have flour. And then we have a very specialized piece of equipment, which is the scale. British baking does things by weight, and so you have to have a scale. So the first thing we're going, also I should note, we're going to make a quantity of crunch today that fits in a 9.5 by 13 inch baking dish. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to mix the oats with the flour, and we're going to have 24 ounces of oats. There's 16 ounces, which is 1 pound. And where you can get a few oats around, that's what the dog is for. And half a pound, so that is now 24 ounces of oats. So next, we're going to need 4 tablespoons of flour. By the way, I'm putting all of this in a big mixing bowl. And these are level tablespoons of flour. And so now, go ahead and mix that up. Okay. Next, we're going to combine butter, sugar, and syrup, and we're going to warm it up in a pan. So, I'll make one note about the sugar. The recipe does not call for raw sugar. It calls for regular white sugar. But I'm going to use raw sugar. I think the flavor goes well with the Lyle's Golden Syrup. For this quantity of crunch, the recipe, I'm reading off of the paper here, the recipe calls for 16 ounces of sugar. I like mine a little less sweet, so I'm going to use 8 ounces. Apologies to Her Majesty, I'm varying from the recipe. So that's what we're going to do. So, I have my pan. Just brush some of these oats aside. Again, we will use our scale, still zeroed, and we're going to measure out 8 ounces. So that would be a quarter pound of sugar. This recipe is not light on sugar, but that's why it's a dessert. Okay, and we're there. So it also calls for butter. I use unsalted butter, but I suppose you could use salted. And in this case we need 12 ounces. But in order to make the butter melt easier, I like to cut it up. When you watch professional videos compared to making your own, you begin to appreciate how little they say the word Now we're going to go ahead and melt butter. So now I'm stirring the butter a little to help it melt. Butter is at least halfway melted now, so I'm going to go ahead and put in the sugar. So as you can see, I'm stirring here to make sure that nothing burns and to speed up the melting process. I am now going to add the Lyle's Golden Syrup. The recipe calls for 4 English tablespoons. Well, we're here in America, so we're going to use American tablespoons. Again, apologies, Your Majesty. Here's our tablespoon and our Lyle's Golden Syrup, which is very thick, as you can see. There's one. And I don't know if you can still see this, but I'm using a knife to kind of scoop it out of the tablespoon into the pot. Try and get it all out there. It's tough because it's so sticky. Okay. There's 2, as you can see. I'm attempting to make it more or less level tablespoons. So there we have it. I have to grease the pan itself that we're going to bake it in. And so I'm going to do that now. Can't remember if I mentioned you should heat up the oven to 350 degrees. I'm already doing that, so that's already in the works. Now going to turn the oven off. Well, not the oven, the burner off. And begin to mix and pour. Mix and pour. Everything thoroughly coated. That is very important. Okay. Just keep mixing here. And what's supposed to happen is that it should start to stick together. If you press it like this, it'll stick. And on this part of the recipe, it's really helpful to have someone of authentic British heritage be the judge of the appropriate consistency. Fortunately, I have such a person here.
Do you have a spoon for me?
Need a spoon?
Mm-hmm.
I'll get you a spoon. She needs a spoon.
Okay, let's see. Yes, don't add any more treacle. That's good.
Okay, we are all set. We're now going to put it in the pan, put it in the oven. Very exciting. Now, as you recall, we have already pre-buttered up the pan. Here goes. Now here we're going to spread it out, pat it down. You want to pat it down so that it's firm pressure all around. It shouldn't be loose, should be fairly compact. Alright. I think we're all set. We're now going to put it in the oven, and it is in the oven again at 350 degrees for 30 minutes or until slightly browned. So you can check, some ovens vary what their actual temperature is. So we'll check back in 30 minutes. Voila, and there we are. Beautiful pan of crunch. Now before we let it cool, we're going to go ahead and cut it to its serving sizes. This will just make it a little easier when you actually go to eat it, because it does set up pretty hard. You see it kind of opens it up a little, so go ahead and pat it down a little bit again. Alright, now we'll let it cool. And there you have it. A beautiful pan of crunch. Cheers. Wouldn't it have just been easier to use real butter?
Aw, Hobie.